is where it gets interesting, because I tried to listen to Keegan. You know, he's the guy, financial breakdown guy, give us a lot of insight, what's going on, is the club being bought out and stuff. And you lot are talking about something that I do find interesting in the point of the Glazers don't have to tell Ineos they're looking for fun, they're shopping the club out. The Glazers don't have to do that job, but the Glazers, if someone would offer 5 billion, yeah, surely the Glazers are going to take it. There's no way they're not going to have that conversation. You think? So do you think this is just total nonsense? Why would he lie? Why would Turki Al-Sheikh wake up one morning and say, "Hey, a deal's happening"?
I don't think it's nonsense. I think that there probably is and are parties in the UAE putting together or hoping to put together some kind of offer. I just don't know if the Glazers would accept for 5 million, because they were offered. I'm pretty sure they were offered more. I'm pretty sure they were offered more than 5 billion in that whole takeover saga, and they said no. So unless it got closer to their valuation, which was reportedly like closer to some ridiculous 8 or 9 or maybe, because remember inflation since then, KG. Prices moved up since then.
I listened to the financial expert speak about it, and he said that the club is valued currently at, even with all the shares, all the everything that's involved right now, 3-point-something billion. So they don't know where
it was massively, even when that whole thing during the strategic alternatives process, the club was massively overpriced. That's what people were talking about at the time, is that they were asking for a ridiculous premium.
It's still not even worth that.
That's why Qatar ultimately ended up pulling out, because they said this is taking the piss. This is too, you're asking for too much, because obviously the problem that comes with it with Manchester United is, all right, let's say you pay the Glazers 7-8 billion quid. Here you go. Here's 7-8 billion quid. And then you go, oh, by the way, you've still got to wipe out the debt. You've still got to wipe that all out. You've still got to do all of the other things and other costs associated with it. Like, it's a really expensive project. It's a really expensive organization to purchase. So that's why ultimately Qatar pulled out, because they said it was, well, this isn't value for money. You're taking.
And they had a fee of money, which was like what, the 3 billion-ish, which was inclusive of giving it to the Glazers plus the 1 billion input into the club. I remember that, of like clearing off debt and stuff. Their price was inclusive of everything.
Inclusive of that, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to give you that. Then we're going to have to go find more money. And then it got to a point of, like we said, remember when Carvey was saying it, like, you know, they will not be pushed around. People see them as having a lot of money, but the Qataris, I'm told, will not be bullied. And that was the thing, is like, yeah, we got bread, but you can't take us for idiot, bro. We're not going to pay over the odds for something. And then, like you said, they end up just,
because they could have. They could have. If the Glazers wanted 10 million, let's say, like 10 billion rather, the Qataris could have given it to them. Like, that wasn't an issue, you know. In the same way that if this consortium in the UAE, that's actually, the money won't be a problem.
Yeah,
for them. They could stack up 7, 8, 9, 10 billion quid if they wanted to. It's just whether or not they feel like it's worth it, or if that's what they want to do. So that's why I'm still really skeptical about it. If it is even in excess of 5 billion, it's a ways to go. I do think, and maybe this is tinfoil hatney here, but it is weird that this starts to happen just after those drag-along clauses come into effect.
Yeah.
They came into effect in August, and now, a couple months removed from that, we straight away start to hear of people, even if it's testing the resolve of the Glazers or having these talks. And bear in mind, there have been lots of talks for a lot of different things. As we've said, Omar Barada's gone around pitching the stadium project to a lot of wealthy people. And maybe the beginning of those talks, then that can transform into something else. We're going, we'll give you some money for the stadium. But just out of curiosity, if you were interested in Salah, would you put a number on that? Would you ever be interested in that? Do you have to, what's the situation with Ineos? Do you have to tell them? Do you have to, you know what I mean? There's lots of, there's something going on. I think there's something going on, whether or not it's as advanced as like
it could be coincidence, or it could be just.
I don't believe there's coincidence to this, guys. And you should see the just in terms of in boxing and what Turkey's part in the whole boxing, you was talking about today and what he's delivered on. And let's just look around. Look at Man City. I know there's some people that are not too excited about this type of ownership, yeah? But then at the same time, you're like, well, we're so far behind. We're behind. We can't. Players are choosing Arsenal over Man United. That's a new one, really, in the Gyökeres type situation. But then we're at the bottom. If there's all the top clubs available, you're probably not picking Man United. So if Liverpool's available, Man City's available, Arsenal's available, Chelsea's available, you're probably not going to pick us, really. So now we're fighting with the likes of Newcastle's, Villa. Like, there's been a changing of the guard. And the more we're not in them European competitions, we can't operate like how we should do. You saw what that competition done for Chelsea, the Club World Cup. It helped them sort out their financial situation. Man United, we're either going to get caught like way far behind. If we don't now get to play European football and get that regular money, which we need as a club, we're going to be in trouble. So we have to look at this potentially. I know Jim's saying he's going to turn us to the most profitable club in a few years' time. That's his plan. But that's going to take rising ticket prices. That's going to take a lot of cutbacks. And that's going to take selling the youth that we don't want to be sold. So you might have to sell a Kobe Mainu.
I don't know if it necessarily. I don't know if that necessarily does, because I think the danger you fall in with this kind of thing of going, just because we throw money at our problems does not mean that we fix a lot of our problems, right? Obviously, maybe the financial ones, like i.e. the debt getting removed, that obviously helps us out a lot. And investing into the team and into the facilities helps us a lot. But there are also things I think that are wrong with Manchester United that don't really have anything to do with money. So we're talking about, culture. We're talking about the academy. And I do think that Jim Ratcliffe's comments about the academy were taken quite a lot out of context this week. When he was talking about the finances involved in it, I think he was mainly sort of saying that, look, the rules are the rules at the moment. You're encouraged to develop players, sell them for a pure profit, but also it benefits you financially if they come on and be a huge success in your team, because you don't have to go out and spend 100 million quid on a player. If you can develop a striker that could be a 100 million pound striker that you've got in your team, bloody hell, you've not had to spend 100 million on getting that striker, and that can be your striker.
But people are thinking of it from the other side of he means to rear them, grow them, and sell them for money. Which again is partially true. But
half of it is that too as well.
That's partially, but that's also what everybody's doing. Everybody is doing that. So I think we maybe need to get. Obviously, when you ever get a link to like, the Saudis are going to buy United or UAE is going to buy United, we just think almost like a bit jokingly, like KG's list earlier on, we look at that's what it's going to be. It's going to be like that, and it's not. It's not as has been evident by people like Manchester City or even people like PSG. Maybe they go through phases where that's what they do initially. PSG, I mean, my goodness me, they're the most all-star team ever in Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, what have you, Sergio Ramos, Buffon, or Donnarumma. But they learned their lesson quick enough that you don't do that, and now they're the winners of the Champions League. City did the same thing.
The team that they put together is still
it's still very expensive. But my point is, it's not necessarily just money; it's also
they both
strategy.
Go hand in hand.
It's strategy that comes in.
The key is with all the money in the world, if you don't spend it right, just like in any walk of life, if
look
you've
at
got
United,
mad bread,
look at this.
We've spent it wrong. We've had a lot of resources. Is since Sir Alex left, and we've spent it all wrong. When you look at how much we spent more than most people. You know what I'm saying? It's only is it like City? Well, obviously Chelsea now have done their 2 billion, whatever they've done. But look at how Chelsea have done it. Really, their thing is just flip it. It's very unique what Chelsea are doing. I wouldn't even compare anyone or anything to what Chelsea are doing. But we've spent as much as anyone, if not more, and we've spent it wrong. So yeah, if we had the Altan's money tomorrow, 100% agree with you that you can't just go and get all the players like in KG's book and then we'll just win the league. Obviously, it won't work like that, but it fixes a lot of things immediately. That's why we want it, because it, first of all, it gets rid of the problem that is the Glazers that just take. It would make us financially better off immediately just by wiping out the debt if, we're painting these hypothetical pictures. But then it is down to the strategy is probably the most important thing. Obviously, you do need finance, but you see teams go further with if you've got like more strategy than you do finance, say you excel at the top end of strategy, you could go really far off of not that much. But if you've got loads of money, but your strategy's way off, you'll be you'll be way off. You see what I'm saying? Like, look at Bournemouth. Look at Brighton. Look at what Look at who else has got not.
But
that,
naturally,
not,
the pushback to that will be is like Man United shouldn't be aspiring to be Brighton; they should be aspiring to be.
No, but you can.
know.
But yeah, of course. But if you get, that's what I'm saying. So if you get it right with the stature of your club and if you get both of them right, you're gone clear. But you could be as big as PSG, as big as Real Madrid, as big as Man United, as big as Bayern Munich or whatever. But if you don't have strategy right, even though you got the size of the club, the name, the badge, the history, you're fucked. Like, and your strategy has to be really, really good.
Yeah,
so I strategy of keeping Amarim for 3 years, because in a sense they're sticking to the plan of let this build, give it time, let's not be moved by knee-jerk decisions.
This is the other thing with that though, is I think people have really hyper focused on that 3 years, like. He's definitely guaranteed going to get 3 years. He's not even on a 3-year contract. He's on a 2.5-year contract. And he then said in the very next sentence, obviously, we're dictated by results. So if Ruben Amorim keeps losing games, then he'll get the sack. So yeah. I think this idea that so Sir Jim's definitely going to give him 3 years. If anything, I think he's just made it more difficult for himself after he said that, because inevitably, in my opinion, when he does end up sacking him, people go, "Oh, see that 3 years." Like I really don't think that's a thing. I think that the idea of him when he says about making Man United one of the most profitable teams, I don't even think that's the worst thing in the world, because as has been pointed out, Man United should never, ever have an issue with PSR. Like, it shouldn't even be a thing for us, because what's PSR based on? Profit and loss. Man United makes so much money with their revenue streams. You look at like Newcastle as an example. Eddie Howe comes out and says it, because we've got all this money, we can't spend it because we don't make enough money. Our revenue streams aren't as big. Man United makes a shit ton of revenue. So we shouldn't even go into transfer windows being like, can we even afford to get this player? Is that the right thing? It shouldn't even be a thing. The reason we even discuss that is the strategy or lack thereof at Manchester United. So I don't even again think it's necessarily a finance thing with us. I think it's a strategic thing.